Hi everybody, welcome to Train Forever. I'm Andrew Barr, and today we're talking about planks, crunches, and sit-ups, and which of these exercises is the best for building super strong abs. There is no best ab exercises, but there are some very good ones, and there are others that are basically nonsense and maybe even harmful. To understand which ab exercises are the most effective, we need to first have a good understanding of what the core is, what its job is, so that we know how to train it effectively. There are a few different definitions out there of what the word core actually refers to. Some use it to describe the torso. Since we're talking about direct core training or ab training, today's discussion is going to be about the abdominal wall, or the muscles that connect the pelvis, the spine, and the rib cage. This is a lot of muscles. You've got your six-pack muscle, the rectus abdominis, but you've also got the internal and external oblique, the erector spinae, transverse abdominis, and many more. We can simplify this further by looking at muscles by their function. The muscles on the front of the trunk, like the rectus abdominis, flex the spine, like in a crunch. The muscles on the back extend the spine, like in a back extension exercise. And the muscles on the side of the trunk, like the obliques, laterally flex or bend the spine. And although all of those muscles do exactly what I said they just did, it's not actually their primary function. The main function of core muscles, or the muscles of the abdominal wall, is not to produce motion, but rather to resist against it. Another function of these muscles is to transfer force from one part of the body to the other. As powerlifters are very fond of saying, squats and deadlifts are the best way to train your core. Now, I don't agree with this 100%. I think squats and deadlifts are an excellent way to train your core, if not the best. But if we can all agree that squats and deadlifts are a great way to train the core, and think for a second about what the abdominal muscles do during those exercises. They're braced, they're tight, they're transferring force, but they don't move. If these exercises that don't involve movement of the trunk can be great for developing core strength, it stands to reason that other exercises that don't involve any movement of the trunk can also be a great way, perhaps the best way, to train your core muscles. And that brings us back to the plank. But not just the plank. What, are you just supposed to do plank? No, of course not. For one, plank is very boring. Two, as your strength increases, you have to hold the plank for increasingly long and unreasonable amounts of time to get any kind of training effect. I'm not anti-plank. I like to make sure that my clients can hold a plank for a minute to ensure a baseline of good core endurance, a threshold that most people who train regularly can absolutely reach. But once you've hit this threshold, it's time to move on to more challenging variations to get a better training effect in less time. Here are some examples. One great option is moving planks or dynamic planks. These are planks where you change position by reaching, lifting a leg, and so on. Changing your base of support from 4 limbs to 3 increases activation in the core and develops stability in a variety of challenging positions. We also want to train the core in the 3 planes of movement. Exercises like suitcase carries, landmine rotations, and pull-off presses are great exercises that train core stability in the frontal and transverse plane. Getting stronger in these types of movements can help increase your strength in your main lifts, help you move better as an athlete, and even protect against back pain and discomfort. It's clear that exercises that prioritize core stability are the superior choice, but let's address crunches and sit-ups directly. These exercises are not inherently bad, but they do have limited value. Although the primary function of the muscles of the abdominal wall is to brace and resist motion, these muscles still can and do flex, extend, and laterally flex. It's not a bad idea to train these muscles to do these things as long as you have a foundation of stability. Crunches, for example, particularly loaded variations, can be useful for stimulating hypertrophy or growth in the abdominal muscles. If you actually want your abs to be bigger, crunches can be worth your time. In my experience, this goal is rather unusual outside of competitive bodybuilding. But are there reasons to not do crunches and sit-ups? I would say yes. One major limitation is that they don't do much to help you move better in the weight room, in sport, or in day-to-day life. Another way of saying that they have limited transfer. This is one major limitation. Another reason is that for most intermediate and advanced lifters, crunches are simply too easy. Think about the other exercises that you do. Squats, presses, curls. How many reps do you do when you do those exercises? 5, 10, 20, something like that? How many crunches can you do? 100 or more? It's just not really the way that we train. This is not a rep zone that creates adaptation in a meaningful and transferable way. Next is that these exercises do have the potential to be harmful. Dr. Stuart McGill, the world's leading researcher on spine biomechanics, has shown that repetitive flexion under load is the most efficient way to delaminate and eventually herniate a lumbar disc. This is obviously bad. Now, this aspect of Dr. McGill's work has been criticized, not so much in the academic community, but on YouTube. This has been criticized because he used pig spines in his research to reach his conclusion. And that might sound like a red flag, but other researchers have done research on the validity of the pig spine as an approximation of the human spine. And they found that although certain segments of the spine, like the neck, are a poor model in the pig spine, they also confirmed that the lumbar region, the low back, which is what we're talking about, is an effective model of the human spine. It's also important to mention again that Dr. Stuart McGill is one of the smartest people in the field of human performance, and it's just good sense to trust him over people in YouTube comments. So movements that develop trunk stability in all three planes are your best bet for serious core strength. Crunches and sit-ups can have their place, but there's also a very good chance that you don't need to do them. And let's be honest, do you like doing crunches and sit-ups? If I told you that you could get amazing abdominal strength without ever doing a crunch or sit-up again, which is exactly what I'm telling you, wouldn't that be good news? Don't fight it. And if you want a whole bunch of great exercises that train your core in exactly the way that I'm describing, plus give you important insight so that you know how and when to progress to more challenging variations, you will definitely want to head to the description and grab my free guide to building core strength. It's completely free and you can get your copy today. If you thought today's video was useful, go ahead and give me a like and make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss another training tip. I'll be putting out a new video each week to help you get the most out of your training sessions. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.